Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome. I am just another Pokédad, and if you know where I stole my intro from, you are my kind of geek, and I say geek lovingly. So today, this is a duel that I played on PTCGO. I'm playing my ZOROARK-MACARGO post-rotation deck. Testing it out, even though I know I'm going to run up against tough matches because they're not going to be playing post rotation in many cases. I recorded this on a whim because I thought, based on his sleeves, that it might be a Rayquaza deck, and indeed it is. And it's not a post rotation deck. So I wanted to see, because I was not sure how I was going to play ZOROARK-MACARGO up against Rayquaza, which I think is just a crushing deck. So I want to show you this battle that we fought. It was I'm going to go with epic. I think it was epic. I really thought I played solidly. My opponent made some incredibly smart plays that I'm going to show you, but I'm going to there's some funky audio, so I'm going to have to overdub all of it. And so I'm going to take my ugly mug off the screen so I can dub, and you'll just hear my voice for the rest of it, kind of narrating us through. So stay tuned. I think you're going to enjoy this match. This is a really crazy matchup. Here we are in the first, in this ZOROARK-MACARGO post-rotation deck matchup. Starting out with the Zorua, which is how I want to play. My opponent is starting out with the Resource Management Oranguru, which I didn't realize how crucial would be in this match. Otherwise, my hand is not great to start with. I do have a Nest Ball, but otherwise not an ideal starting hand for this deck. So it's a little bit looking like it's going to be a little bit of a slow start. My opponent gets the Lele out early, which is always key, and chooses Cynthia Full Art, which is beautiful. I do not have on PTCGO a Full Art Cynthia. I do have a couple in real life, and they are awesome. I love Full Art trainers. I am just a sucker for Full Art trainers in general. I tend to bling out my real-life decks if I can. So my opponent is playing the Rayquaza-GX like I thought. So I am really nervous about facing up against this deck and seeing. And already he's getting a bunch of energy into his discard. But he's also rolling. He's playing a pre-rotation, a Worlds deck here. And so I was not sure how I would stack up against that. Things like ends, max elixirs. I wasn't sure how I was going to face that. So I'm just, this is going to be, it's a wild ride of a game, that's for sure. But I figure I had the Plumeria in hand, and I thought I'm going to use that because he's got a bunch of energy in his discard already. So I'm hoping he doesn't have a bunch of ways to get it all back. I imagine he's running a Latias at this point, and kind of things in ways to get it back. And then I totally don't think about the Resource Management Oranguru as another way to manage his resources. So such a good, because as you'll see, he's already down to 29 cards in his deck, and this is like turn 2. So this is like a Night March kind of deck where you can just tear through all of your resources so quickly. And that's the idea. You get a couple Rayquazas set up, and you just pummel your opponent. So I'm kind of, like double, I'm watching to see how the deck plays, as I've never played it or uh, played against it yet. And then I'm also trying to figure out, what do I do to get through this game. I don't want to just dump it, because I'm just like, I gotta play it out and see how it goes. So he puts a few things back in his deck. I don't have anything going on. I am really kind of stuck. So I'm just like, I don't know what to do, but I'll just kind of whittle you away with RAM. And my concern starts to become, as he gets energy going, I can't put out any GXs because he's just going to tear me apart once I do. So I'm really hesitant to grab a ZOROARK-GX and get it going, because he's already got, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. He'll have 180 once he puts an energy on to that last, 190 with the Fury belt. So it's just, I'm nervous about putting out a Zoroark already. And we're on, like the third turn of the game. So he has me in a little bit of a bind here already. And I don't quite know. And obviously, I have no cards in hand. So I'm really, not only am I just in a bind, I'm really in a bind. So trying to decide what to do. I know that, I'm like, Fan Club at least gets me the Lele, so I can get a draw support. And I figure here, I figure to play it now, get the draw support, because the worst thing that'll happen is it forces him to N if he's, got it in hand, since I already had played Fan Club. So I just was like, I'll bench the Lele and not have it wasted if he does N, and then I end up with, nothing good in hand. So my thought was, I'll grab the Cynthia, get the bench going, because if I do get a Zoroark, I'm thinking, even though I'm hesitant to put it out, that may be the choice I have to make, and to take out this Oranguru, who is, because look at him, he's down to 13 cards in his deck. And I will tell you, we are not near the end of this game. The Rayquaza deck is a deck that is going to burn through everything. And I just keep thinking, he's down to, 11 cards now, and he hasn't taken a prize yet. If I don't offer up anything for him to really take, and here he helps me because I can get rid of the only two prize knockout that he can take. So that was my thought, but then I'm like, but somehow I've got to take out this Oranguru. That's got to be my priority, because I imagine he's not playing two. And yeah, I'm sure he has Rescue Stretcher, but I just keep thinking I've got to get rid of the Oranguru. And so my choice here was to get him out of the active. So he had the other Oranguru. I wanted to try and get him stuck. So yeah, I have two Cynthias in hand, but I just wanted to try and gain myself a moment to try and get away from him getting cards back in his deck. And so now we get the N, which is really not bad for me, because I've got plenty of cards. he has so few in his deck already that the end, and having not taken any prizes, is taking him really down. I mean, I just feel like I'm feeling like at this point, there's no way he can take 6 prizes before he runs out of cards. That's what I'm thinking. And I am way off base in that. I'm just telling you up front. I am way off base. So I attached the counter energy to the shaman because I know at some point he's got to take a knockout. And so I want to have that ready. I threw away the double colorless there, and I'm not sure why. My thought was I want to try and keep some Pokemon to rotate some basics in. And the judge, I keep thinking, well, with the judge, at least I'm going to force him at some point to draw 4 cards. So I better keep that in my deck as well. And again, all I'm doing is like hitting him with Ram. I feel like this deck is not anywhere where it's supposed to be, and yet I'm playing at a total amount of defense here. And sometimes that's the right play, and I'm not sure if, if it was the right play in terms of the game or not, but it seems to have been working. Here he Guzmas and brings that up. I kind of think he probably should have taken out the shaman. But, I'm sure he was looking at the potential ZOROARK-GX there. My trouble is with the Parallel City, it's just hampering me from being able to even do 120, but he's doing 250 there. So it's like, what am I going to do? If I put up a Zoroark, it's just going to die, so there's no reason to offer it up. But the MACARGO with Smooth Over is just such an incredible ability. And here I decided to hit him, so I'm going to take, he had 3 in his hand, so now he's got 1 more, so it puts 1 less in his deck. I'm just trying to, my strategy at this point is to deck him out. It's the only way I see me winning this game, and I'm just uncertain because I know Shaman's going down next turn. So my thought is I got the counter energy is going to be my draw, so I can put it on the Deoxys and hopefully take a return knockout, which would tie us up since I'll be behind in prizes at that point. Except I miscalculate the amount of damage that the Deoxys does. So 20, 40, 60, 80, and he's got the Fighting Fury belt, so I'm short of the knockout, and I don't realize that as I'm promoting Deoxys. Had I known that, I might have changed what I was doing, because I just wasn't sure. So here I'm trying to decide whether to Mallow or use MACARGO, and I decide now is the time to grab the Zoro. I'm like, now I'm going to have to start being able to draw into whatever I'm MACARGOing, so I'm going to have to start going on offense at this point. Because he's got so few cards in hand, or in his deck, I'm like, this is the time where I've got to go on offense. So I miscalculate this, and I think at this point I'm just like, I'm really hosed. But his card count makes me feel like I may be, he's going to take out the Deoxys, but you know, with only, I don't know what he's got, 4 cards left in deck. I mean, I'm feeling solid. And then he blows me away by field blowing to knock himself out. One, that puts us even at prizes. So now my counter energy is invalid, and it moves his Oranguru up so he can put 3 cards back in his deck. It was a pretty smart play, and I did not anticipate it. So here he puts 3 cards back in his deck, and I'm kind of sitting here thinking that I'm going to take the knockout on him, and then I realized that we're tied with energy, so the counter energy is not doing, not giving me 2 on him. And I don't want to waste a double colorless because I feel like I'm going to need it at some point. So here I'm just trying to decide, am I going to put a Zoroark in play? He did just lose 3 energy, and it takes me a few minutes to realize that he's only, you know, he's got 30, 60, 90, 120, 150 base damage. So my thought is I use the escape rope to see what he brings up. And I figure I can always MACARGO for a Guzma if I wanted to put something else back. So so here's the mistake. I do make a mistake here because I think, oh, I can use my GX move, and then it just dawns on me that Rayquaza has nothing that I can use the GX move on. So I sort of make an error there in terms of putting the rainbow energy on top of my deck. That was a foolish move, but it works out okay for me here because I realize, well, I've got the ace roll I just traded. I can trade again. The only thing I didn't realize is with the Deoxys again, I forgot that the counter energy was not going to power my attack. So I miss out on the attack here. I can retreat, but I just feel like at that point I'm putting myself in a bad trade position that he's going to be able to knock out my GX before I can knock out his. So I decide to trade the rainbow energy because at that point I realize I'm not going to use my GX move. So there was no point in saving the rainbow energy for that particular effect. And here he's got more max elixir, so he's adding to his power 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 190 with the Fighting Fury Belt, and, you know, putting the float stone on the other Oranguru, knowing that that's my goal, is to try and strand that guy. But what I think comes up is just shows the pure power of the draw engine of MACARGO Zoroark, because he does take the knockout here. Don't have many options, but I know I've got to Guzma something. So my thought is I'm gonna strand him again. That's my goal. Is I'm gonna field blower away his float stones, and then I've got to strand him because he's only got 1 card left in his deck. So I'm feeling like there's no way he's going to take 3 prizes at this point. And again, we're not over. So it just is pretty intense. So I decide to Guzma up the Oranguru. I bring the Zoroark forward and then retreat. because I want to only put a one prize attacker out. I just don't want to give him the easy option of knocking out my two prize attacker. Of course he has the float stone. Of course he does, because why wouldn't he have another float stone available? I wasn't counting cards in his discard, looking at the cards in his discard. That was my own failing for not being more reticent about looking at his, what did I just say? No. I should have been checking the cards in his discard, and I was not. So now, he's getting cards back in his deck, and I finally just know that I have to take out this Oranguru. So my goal is to take out the Oranguru and then try and figure out stranding something. But as I'm looking at the cards in my deck, I know now I know his energy count is lower than a knockout. So I decide that the Acerola in hand is the smart play. I take that. I take us back down to 3 prizes each. It's a pretty good matchup, but I really know that he wins the trade-off at this point. So my thought process really, again, is not to take all my prizes. It's to figure out how to run them out of cards, because I think my thought process is he's going to win no matter the prize trade. I am not going to be able to take enough before he takes his 3. I can't do the math the way he can, especially because I've used both my field blowers at this time. So the parallel city's going nowhere. I don't run any stadiums in this deck, which I'm regretting at this point. And then again, he ends, so he has cards back in his deck. And I don't have the Acerola, so my only option is, again, to MACARGO into the Acerola one more time. So the only nice thing is I'm thinking, he's got a limited amount of cards, so energy output is probably not going to go up from where he's at. I see in my deck that I have also the max potion, so I know that I have a couple options. Unfortunately, I also know that I'm down to it on energy. I've thrown away, and so I don't have a lot of options in that regard. But here, enhanced hammer's worthless. And now that pal pad is what's exactly what I needed right then to put those Acerolas back in my deck. Because my thought is, again, he can do 190s, so I can Acerola myself, back. And then he ends again. And I'm thinking still, he's down to 2 cards, so as long as I can Acerola again a couple turns, that's my play. And really my only way to win is to, and I appreciate him saying I have a good deck. He has a good deck. We both have good decks, apparently. This was just so tough. Choices to make. But I know that my win condition is not taking him out. It's outlasting him if I can do it. And that becomes the if. And there is a point where I, because I know I'm only going to be doing 80 damage, so, me being able to knock him out becomes less a concern because I just don't feel like I'm going to be able to do it. That trade reminded me that I have my judge is what won me the game. Spoiler alert. Which obviously you knew I was going to come out victorious in this, because why would I show you an epic game that I lose? No, I would show you that if I had lost. This is still an epic game. See, there I think he made a small error in taking out the Zoroark without energy. Now, the only thing he can't account for what I'm going to have. He doesn't, but now I'm able to take out in kind his Rayquaza here, and that takes his energy count lower than his ability to knock me out. So I know with this knockout that we're both down to one prize. So I know the only win condition he's got is a Guzma, and he's got 4 or 5 cards to make that happen. But that was one of the one counts that I'm pretty sure I had. And I know right here, because he doesn't because he moved the Rayquaza up, I knew he didn't have a Guzma. So I knew at this point that I could take the win because he did not have Guzma. I knew he was going to do something to get cards back in his deck, because otherwise he would have conceded at this point. But instead, he's playing energy. So I know he's still got an N in hand. And he does, in fact, have an N and plays it. So puts himself back in a good spot, because now he hits for the whatever it is, 150, and unfortunately for him, the MACARGO engine is just too good. I remembered I had Judge. He's only got 3 cards, so I know that's game. Once he was below 4 cards, I knew I was going to be able to do exactly this for the game. And I mean, it was just crazy. But that one trade that showed me the judge, I would not have remembered it, which I should, but that's the game. And I'm just, thank you so much. And remember to be happy, be safe, and be kind. Thank you.